Hello and welcome to day 2 of the Copenhagen Democracy Summit. My name is Ryan Heath and I am the host of Politico's Global Translations newsletter and podcast. Our theme today is Innovating Democracy Through Tech. And the theme of this session that we're about to conduct now is on investing in democracy tech, a showcase of 6 of the Alliance of Democracies fellows and their solutions to democracy's problems. But before we get into the pitches that we're about to hear, I'd like to invite Fogh Rasmussen, chairman of the Alliance of Democracies Foundation, to come and speak to us about the Democracy Tech Entrepreneur Fellowship. Anders, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ryan, and welcome to the second day of the Copenhagen Democracy Summit. We have dedicated this day entirely to discussing technology and democracy. Election interference on social media, disinformation, deepfakes, pandemic surveillance, and illicit facial recognition. These are dangers to democracy from the wrong uses of technology. And authoritarian countries use technology for their control and suppression at home and abroad. That's also why I advocate for a technological alliance of democracies to set the standards for the free world. That is for governments to coalesce and establish that. But we also need to build from the bottom up. It is about bringing out what the free world does best: innovation, entrepreneurship, and new ideas. That's the thinking behind our new initiative, the Democracy Tech Entrepreneur Fellowship. The ambition is to foster technological innovations which also embrace democratic principles. All the projects try to tackle big challenges to our democracies like fake news, political participation, and ethics in artificial intelligence. We have started with a regional focus on democracy tech entrepreneurs from Europe's eastern democracies, Ukraine, Georgia, and Moldova. I feel strong affinity with these countries. As NATO Secretary General, I worked for stronger ties. I saw the sabotage and military actions taken by Russia to stifle the growth of democracy. I want all 3 countries to choose their future freely. Also, for that reason, technological solutions can help with securing democracy long-term in the region. How have we done this fellowship in practice? After a rigorous selection process at the start of the year, we retained 6 candidates based on their tech and democracy projects. We have connected the fellows with the Danish tech and startup community. We had amazing speakers come in and conduct virtual masterclasses over the last couple of months. I'm grateful to partners like Women in Tech Denmark, Jørgen Larsen from Trifork, and Sahra-Josephine from CanopyLab. The fellows were also matched with mentors from Denmark's business and startup ecosystem. The mentors have helped them to better shape their innovative solutions through one-on-one feedback sessions. Thanks to Aghassipour from Zendesk, Nima Tisdal from Blue Lobster, Daniel Duda-Schwartz from LIV, and last but not least, Lars Tinggaard from Tech for Life. Let the pitch show begin. I'm excited to hear about the evolution in the projects from our Democracy Tech Fellows. I'm pleased that we managed to get you all come physically to Copenhagen so we could host you on stage. Welcome. Now the stage is yours.
Thank you, Anders. Now it's time to meet our fellows. As you've heard, they've been attending masterclasses. They're physically here with us in Copenhagen, which we're excited about. And they're about to deliver a 3-minute pitch about their project. And then they'll be quizzed by a panel of experts. So, welcoming to the stage, first from Ukraine, Nikita Lukianets. Also from Ukraine, Regina Bondarenko. From Georgia, we have Nino Macharashvili. And Timur Chichua. And finally, from Moldova, we have the two Arturs, Artur Gurau and Artur Mija. And joining us now on stage, we have our expert panelists, Jonas Parello-Plesner, who many of you already know as the Executive Director of the Alliance of Democracies, and Sahra-Josephine Hjort, who's a learning expert and the co-founder and CEO of CanopyLab, or Sarah. I'm going to get it right. That's important. Now, let's get started. Thank you to all of our fellows, but I'm going to keep up on the stage right now Artur from the VoteMe app. So I'll ask you all to leave, and Artur can begin his presentation.
And thank you for the introduction. My name is Artur, the co-founder of VoteMeUp. It's a decision-making platform built for communities. Our customers are happy because they can use it for internal decision-making process. Unions can use it to organize board meetings, general assemblies, and political parties can use it for primaries. We have 4 voting algorithms, but our innovation is called open voting. It's actually a remix of PageRanks from Google that is organized to find information. We use it to organize people. Think of it as Google for elections. If more people trust you, it means that when you vote for somebody, your vote is actually heavier. We are offering the communities the possibility to have more democracy inside them. So we boost their engagement, increase accountability, and we make decisions faster, easier, and actually fun, because it's like playing a social game. We also have services for organizations, because we help the organization's management getting rid of a big pain, planning and keeping track of board meetings and facilitating decision-making for general assemblies. We also have the most democratic business model. We start displaying the winner for free so that everybody can use our app. But in order to see the top classification and the social graph inside the group, there is a small fee for that. We also discovered that around 5% of the people are curious to see what are their position in the group. So we charge $1 to feed their curiosity. For organizations, we have a plan that is also around the model of $1 per member with a voting group. So an annual plan for an organization can vary from a couple hundreds to thousands of dollars. We are bootstrapping the development of our app, improving it with updates like voice meetings or templates for easier decision-making. We have 6% growth in terms of votes week by week. And we have various experiences in different environments and a couple of very lucrative contracts. You see 2 experienced co-founders. We know each other for a lot of time, collaborating previously for civic tech, community, and media projects that actually produced social impact in Moldova. And we teamed up because on the long run, we want to upgrade democracy. For this year, we plan to invite on our platform organizations and communities in Central and Eastern European countries. And on the same time, by improving our app, we want also to organize the second edition of the Future of Democracy conference, and at the same time preparing ourselves for the EU and US markets. With trust being our most essential asset, we look for partners and investors that shares our mission, democratize decision-making. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Artur. Sahra-Josephine, I'll turn to you first for a question. You're a learning expert. What did you learn, and do you want to partner with VoteMe, having heard that?
Well, I think it's a very exciting and very ambitious company that you founded. I'm very curious about the algorithms. I want to lift the hood of the tech a little bit. So it seems like it's an app. Could you talk about, you said there are 4 different algorithms. Yeah. What do they do, and how do they contribute to your overall goal?
Well, we listened closely the needs of our customers, and that's why we developed also the web app. We allow the organization basically build their profile with the organization, and every time they have a decision to make, we simply send them an SMS to the entire organization, and it's actually working really cool, because when you have a general assembly for 700 companies, for example, it's very complicated to get them all on board, especially in the new digital reality. And we actually managed to solve this problem, and not only assuring the quorum, but also to make it really fast. But the open voting is a remix of the PageRank, like I told. So basically, it means that there are no candidates. Everybody can vote for everybody. So in the end, we have a distribution of trust. So actually, it leads to the fact that in the end, we have less populism and more critical thinking when it comes to decisions.
Great. Jonas, you're bringing in the democracy expert perspective.
Thank you, and thank you, Artur. This is a great project. Mine would really be exactly about your mission, democratizing decision-making, when you're working also with political parties, where we see in established democracies that participation is falling. Have you seen any examples here that actually increases participation also among younger members that using such a tool here?
Yeah, absolutely. That's why we are saying that we have the most democratic business model, because you can start for free. And actually, it's used in classrooms, in schools and universities, because the very first exercise that you're doing is when you have to select the leader of a specific group. And it's something that we have to teach the next generation from schools. But political parties are using it not only for primaries to identify candidates, but also identify volunteers and observers. And we had this solution used when in a specific region they did not have a volunteer for the elections. And using our app, they actually managed to find some civic activists that have been recommended bottom up. And in the end, they had this partnership.
Thank you.
Sarah, last question from you.
May I ask, do you only vote for people or also ideas? And I think from a learning perspective, what's your reflection about solely promoting a culture of voting, for example, in a classroom versus dialogue and collaboration?
Well, we started with voting for people, but because the organizations needs also like ongoing decision-making, we had boards where they had 14 different issues, and they had single choice and multiple choice, so we introduced this in our platform. And we also introducing now the possibility to keep track of all the decisions, because actually it's a big problem to have everything on paper. Now it's everything centralized in a single place.
Thank you, Artur. Very impressed by your company. It's very live already. It's much more than an idea.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And now, our second Artur. I'm inviting Artur Mija from AntsCamp, who's going to tell us how AntsCamp helps you win the election you're involved in. Take it away.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. My name is Artur Mija. I'm from Republic of Moldova, and I'm a founder at AntsCamp. At AntsCamp, we believe that we can help political candidates build strong communities and win elections. But first, why are elections so complicated? So over the time, with the development of new media, the gap between politician and voter has been constantly increasing. Election campaigns are usually expensive, and the strategy, one message fits all, it's not working anymore. And sometimes, staff members have little or no experience in organizing field volunteers. So this is why we provide them with the powerful targeting tool to ensure that the right message goes to the right voter. We also help candidates build a feedback loop with every single voter and build a strong community around those ties. We do it by giving them access to a tool we call the Voters Map. So let's imagine John is a field activist. He joins AntsCamp on his cell phone, and then he has the possibility to add houses and living blocks on the map. And then, as he speaks with people, he has the possibility to add supporters, undecided, and opponents in those houses. The second time John goes into the field, he already knows that in this specific building, there are 75 supporters, 10 undecided, and 15 opponents, and he can target them accordingly. Give the message A to the supporters, give a message B with more arguments to those undecided, and avoid wasting time for non-voters and opponents. Of course, we work with sensitive data. This is why we believe that we will have strong regulations on how the data is collected, stored, and how it's used day by day. We focus our efforts on two main target groups, meaning candidates and also political parties. And both in terms of number of people interested, but also in their financial capacity, there is a huge market to be discovered. So our business model is a monthly subscription model, where you pay, the more people you have on the map, the more you pay. And we also do personalized offers for parties. Our team consists of 2 co-founders, and we know how to run election campaigns. The last campaign we've coordinated was for our current president in 2020, and we have won it. Also, besides that, Andrei is a founder of a global top 100 translation company, and I'm a business owner myself. In 5 years, we want to become the go-to app for party and election campaign management. And also, right now, we have a bunch of new features that we are developing. And if you want to get to know more, let's get in touch.
Great. Thank you, Artur. Now, your campaign has succeeded in Moldova.
Yes.
Jonas, you have worked and been watching campaigns in every continent. Is this app going to have the impact where it's most needed?
No, I think it's really fascinating and a great project. I mean, my question from the democracy angle would be what you touched upon a little bit with the privacy. Since technology is neutral, we see it used both for good and bad. This is, if it works out as planned, it's a very powerful tool as well. You could also see it being used in maybe semi-authoritarian countries for really targeting who is who. So I would be interested in the whole privacy side of things that you mentioned.
Thank you for the question. It's a sensitive one, I get it. So we, first of all, as a rule, we want to work only with those candidates and parties that have already in place some good regulation regarding privacy, or better are GDPR compliant already. Second, we have some technical limitation. For example, the volunteer cannot access the app outside of a field exercise. So he cannot join and see the personal data of the people outside the exercise. And we also think about depersonalizing personal data. So the volunteer will know that the person in front of him is a supporter, but anything else he will not know. And also, from the democracy point of view, I do believe that it goes against the way a dictatorship is built. Because usually dictatorships are trying to avoid direct contact with people. They don't want to ask people what they think. They try to simulate democracy. And by introducing the tool that we are proposing, basically what you do, you connect with people. You ask their opinion. You feel them. And then you can tailor-make your policies accordingly.
Sahra-Josephine, your question.
Well, I feel completely convinced that you're the right team to execute on it. I think also from a technological perspective, where it's at now, you'll definitely be able to use it. I think I'm torn between this. Are you bringing democracy to the masses, or are you really essentially giving politicians a better way to manipulate the constituents? isn't the world maybe moving away from being able to spread 15 different messages? Because youth, they want authenticity and they want to see the real person. Like, what's your perspective on the massive influence that you can actually have?
We believe that we can foster democracy by building ties between peoples, but having a constant connection with your constituency, by asking their opinion when an issue is on a table, and act accordingly. We provide a tool to get in touch outside of the electoral campaign. We provide a tool for a long-term party development. Not usually when you want to win election fast, you invest a lot in advertisement, billboards, social media, which is everything is one-sided communication from the politician to the voter. We want another thing. We want that we have a discussion, and we, as politicians, we can work accordingly.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much, Artur. Very impressive. I think we could all do with more investment in connections if we want our democracies to succeed. Now it's time for our second theme, AI and democracy. The fellows are from Ukraine, and the aim is ethical and human-centered artificial intelligence, innovations that can really strengthen our democracy. First up, we have Regina Bondarenko of Pravoman, which provides automated legal advice. Take it away.
Thank you. Good day, dear audience. My name is Bondarenko Regina, and I'm so glad to introduce you Totally Digital Advisor Pravoman. But let's talk about democracy first. For me, democracy is like format of communication between states and people when people say and the state must react. But what to do if, unfortunately, people don't understand how to use such instrument like democracy? They need helper, translator from legal language. Because that's why we must teach them and explain how to use democracy. Because legal awareness is the first step of working democracy. And that's why we create Pravoman. Pravoman is a system which automatizes legal advice, also creation documents and giving useful information for our citizens. In Ukraine, our product Pravoman covers the most important and also popular legal issues in Ukraine. We are a multi-platform solution. That's why we covered all internet users in Ukraine. And also, for example, we make more than 3,000 consultations in a day. It's a huge number for one solution. For example, with our help, 10,000 people in Ukraine got financial support from COVID-19 because we give them one but the right advice. Also, we automate more than 300 consultations, 40 documents, and almost launch 5 white label products. Our advantages is speed, university, and also coverage. And also, as we totally digital, we are COVID-free. Our business model have 3 parts, B2C, B2B, and also providing white label. For our users, we have chargeable documents, also subscription, and for professional leaders, we have marketplace in our product. We work well because our users not only thank us, but also giving their money, so they pay for our services. Pravoman is not the first and not success, and yes, of course, success stories. For our package, we have also COVID advisor for UNICEF and Ministry of Health in Ukraine, which now have 1 million users. And also, for example, Shubabert, which covered 76 countries today. That's why we understand and believe that Pravoman can be solution not for only Ukraine, but also become the international key of opening access to justice and democracy at all. That's why we're providing white label service. We automated your consultation and also document flow, and as a result you get digital advisor for your citizens. We here because we believe that law must protect everyone. Awareness can be privilege. This is democracy. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. That's extremely impressive. Almost as you're a scale up now, I would venture to say. Sahra-Josephine, what's on your mind?
Well, I hope there are many investors in the house. I certainly felt completely convinced. Talk to me a little bit about the white labeling. So the difference is when you go mass market, you do legal advice. What's the difference between that and the white labeling?
You see, we have a system which can help to automate any topics. That's why, based on Pravoman system, which create for you your own product for your organization. So you decide what the topics, what the document you want to automate, and we do it. You only must still relax and go to us with your topics and your issues. So.
And it's based on NLP, or what's in the engine?
Yeah, today we use two sides of instrument. The first, it's a system which selected topics and the most point for individual consultation. So they checked the point. If it included in such topics, it's give you advice. And also our system recognize language human and also help to make flow easier for users. But we still think that some correct direction we must also take it. That's why we not answer. So for the first question, we give the direction. It's more, I think, relevant answer will be. So it's like our solution and our, I think, in our view. So. But if you want to change something and you want our white label service like product, you also can give us some issues that you have, and also we, of course, customize our solution for you.
Mm-hmm. Jonas.
Thank you, Regina. I'm also very convinced. I was going to ask again more in my lane on the work you do with voter registration, which of course is a big issue, for example, in the US. In Ukraine, when you've done this, does this mean you get a lot more people actually that sign up? And then I had a little follow-up question, also political, would be with the situation in the east and the separatist-controlled areas where there's a lot of lack of access to services that are left there from the central government, and whether these digital solutions could be a solution there to a thorny political issue as well.
I think the last part of your question is the answer why we create our product, because we know that a lot of cities, that not only on the east, like Donetsk area, but in other cities which don't have qualified legal advisor, also NGOs, and that's why the digital assistant can solve such problem, because you don't need any special action to get your advice. You must have your only mobile phone or laptop, because today we live in Facebook Messenger, Viber Messenger, Telegram Messenger. Also we have apps for iOS and also Android system, and the quintessence will also create a web chat on our website. So it's so easy to contact us that we have a lot of consultation for people which live in such area, and that's why for them is, I think, the first and last opportunity to find out how we can help them in Ukraine, and why and how they must, for example, come back for Ukraine. So it's also very important and social question for us, and we also proud that we can give them not only opportunity but real help.
Thank you so much. I can think of a lot of governments, not just in Ukraine, that could benefit from your white label service. You would be a lot more effective than them, I think. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And now it's time to welcome Nikita Lukianets from OpenEthics, which is all about building trust. Take it away.
Hi, my name is Nikita Lukianets, and I'm a founder of the OpenEthics initiative. Our mission is to provide infrastructure for trust in AI-powered solutions. Let me tell you why and how. Common narrative today is that AI surpasses human professional in an increasingly large number of narrow domains. The AI ethics risks is not a Hollywood story, but a systemic failure to address issues such as privacy, cybersecurity, fairness, bias, and power balance. Today, 80% of consumers consider that companies should address those issues. Only 1/3 of those companies are ready and have frameworks in place, and even less so, have tools in their hands. A typical answer is a top-down regulation. The US and the EU last month have launched their proposals for the legal frameworks. Now, the top-down is not the only solution. The food industry has paved the way to address this issue, so now we have a common way to talk about food, like fats, proteins, nutrition labels. This is what we have already. The biggest lie that we have today in the internet is when we click, I agree, I understand, and I accept. We actually don't know what we're agreeing to and how our data is going to be processed. What if we can introduce nutrition labels to AI-powered product? We have already launched a label that allows companies to self-disclose and therefore build trust with their consumers. We're filing for international standard to build a universal language for disclosure. Every product must have a passport to display the ethical posture, both in human and in machine-readable ways. This allows transparency of the supply chain for safer solutions and for more traceable solutions. The AI context is complex. It has national and supranational players where governments play their role. Unlike top-down regulation, OpenEthics is taking bottom-up approach. With bottom-up approach, we have a balance to have companies innovating and also users having trusted information. We have a growing list of supporters and contributors. We need your help. Our operational model is to allow companies to building trust and, on the other hand, to help governance with the open data. Please join OpenEthics initiative by bringing funding, becoming an ambassador from political or technology side. I'm ready for your questions. Please contact me online or on this platform of the OpenEthics Democracy.
Thank you so much, Nikita. Sarah, take it away.
I'm excited that you're opening for a dialogue, as you said, where it isn't just governments telling us what to do and how to work in AI, but you're saying it will be the companies that themselves declare what goes in the label, or is there a verification mechanism? How will it work exactly, what gets on that label?
The verification is an important point, but there's a second point in the chain of the processes that will occur once the companies disclose. The same way as it occurs in the food industry and other industries such as electrical appliance industries, first what companies do, they share their information in a voluntary way. If they want to raise the level of trust that they have disclosed, they invite auditing companies that are third-party independent companies that log in the platform, are able to vouch and actually confirm that what they disclose is true.
And who will they be and who will pay for it?
We're building a platform like right now to include any kind of companies that are ready to do consultation and that have capacity and knowledge in the technology field and in the field of cybersecurity.
Jonas.
Nikita, this is great. This is totally, in my view, the right idea, and you have all the sort of the thinking behind it. Mine will also be a little bit same as yours, Josephine, on how you do it in practice, and particularly on the multi-stakeholder approach. In the Alliance of Democracy Foundation, we have what's called the Transatlantic Commission on Election Integrity, where we both worked on curbing election interference with governments, with tech companies. So I was interested in the interplay there. You had all the players up on that screen, but again, who is it? Is it first government regulation, or is it first come as an industry-wide initiative? How do you, or is it both? I mean, but walk us a little bit through the stages of how these different players and how you basically kind of organize them as well, if you want to be the hub in all of this.
I do believe that self-disclosure is only part of the solution, and we need to also engage governments in the ability to regulate. The problem today is that government has limited resources to check on all the companies, and typically the checks are done only with big revenue companies, meaning that the government just don't have resource to go on the medium-sized company and even on the smaller-sized companies who are the providers of data processing. What we want to provide is being able to give them the data that companies already publish publicly, but in such a way that this data could be scannable and available for everyone, both allowing governments to inform but not to scare these companies.
I have a question to come in as using my moderator prerogative. There are some large companies that are working on nutrition labels already. Have you reached out to any of those companies? And the reason I ask is that by not doing this as a government initiative, you can move quicker and faster. But sometimes there's a risk of duplication, and then there are competing labels, and the consumer ultimately gets a bit confused. So what are you doing to bring those parties together and avoid the confusion?
Sure. Thank you for the question. For example, right now, our product already includes Microsoft data sheets for dataset or Google model cards that are working on the labels. But what we're doing, we're chaining them in this self-disclosure process so that this data could be both verified by third parties.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Sahra-Josephine, I think you had one more.
I think if you have an opportunity to say there are 3 or 4 stakeholders that have to come on for this to happen, Everyone's watching. Who needs to jump on board?
If I was to ask right now for the stakeholders to jump, I would say, please, all the big tech, show the lead, come in and contribute to the open source initiative that we're launching. We are not a private and for-profit company. We want this to build to be a platform.
Nikita, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We're now moving on to our third and final section of this session, and a very important topic it is, fighting disinformation in democracies. But before we get started, we have a very special third guest to join our expert panel, Alexander Aghassipour, who is the co-founder of Zendesk, a Danish unicorn. We're so excited to have you here, Alexander.
Thank you very
much. Looking forward to your input from our next fellows. So, those fellows are from Georgia, and they are going to tell us about how they plan to avoid future waves of disinformation and election interference. So please welcome Timur Chichua from Quack NLP, who is going to talk to us about fighting disinformation and fake news with artificial intelligence.
Thank you so much. Hello. I'm Timur from Georgia, representing Quack NLP, which is a toolset developed to work with textual data. One of the problems which we are trying to solve in Georgia is spread of the fake news by developing intuitive, openly accessible, simple yet powerful analytic toolset. So many people, it's not a simple task to separate real news from the fake one, and there are no easy toolsets to help us in the process. Thus, people often tend not to spend too much time checking the information or the source of the information, and they just take it as a real fact and even share it, spread it to the audience, which can lead up to accidental disinformation. But using social media as a manipulation agent by targeting audience and radiating them with a certain news can lead to manipulation and spreading disinformation. Thus, our solution is to use human intelligence and artificial intelligence and construct a platform which will help researchers and just regular citizens to fact-check their articles. So, by pre-training robust Georgian language model and fine-tuning it on the dataset collected from the local fact-checking and media companies, we're creating fake news classifier model. This model comes handy when we need to determine if the certain article is constructed like the fake one or not. But it's not good enough to make a final decision. So we need human intelligence in the process to say the final word and verify if the article is real or not. We are storing the results of this verification in the local reputation scoreboard, which comes useful when we're doing the source checking process. For the source checking process, we are implementing natural language processing toolset on our platform, which is used by person labeling upcoming new articles and news medias. So this tool is going to be open source and published in about a month, and it can be used by the researcher as a tool in the pipeline to mark up the new data, or just the regular citizens who are just interested to know what they're reading and sharing, so fact-checking. It all started as yes, the final results, it's just for demonstration purposes, like to visualize, but it will be intuitive cards, which will help everyone to understand the data they're having and sharing. So it all started as a university project from a cyber laboratory called Unilab, but thanks to this summit, it got pretty big interest in Georgia. We had like national TV time, and now we're partnering with bigger companies who are going to use our tools to actually use them in upcoming political analysis. So we are open to anyone wishing to contribute on our journey to democratizing AI toolset for the society. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Timur. Alexander, if I can bring you in directly, what's your feedback?
So I would love for the world to have a system like this that works, but what is the difference between this and what the big social media companies today try to do? Because I know they also have some automated systems, and they also have human people checking on this. I would be interested to know, what is the difference between what you're doing and what is already out there that is not working optimally?
Amazing, yes. So, for example, there is a toolset from Google where you can just drop not the article, but just the sentence and fact-check it in different stories. Or even Facebook has its own system which looks how the news is spread. The thing here is that those systems are for popular languages like, for example, English, German, so on. But Georgian language is so less spoken and there is so little population that big companies don't, unfortunately, have time to develop toolset for those languages. So in CART NLP, it was like, at first, general toolset for Georgian languages, and then we decided, just because we could, and we saw that we should, create this toolset and find practical sufficient applications. And one of them was, like, we're doing linguistic analysis and statistical analysis. And one of them was to find how the fake news is structured and be able to give this toolset to researchers and platform where they can directly contact to the end users. Like, the same platform can be used by the researcher to label new data and by end user, like regular citizen, to find the solution. So it's like one pipeline, and that's our original approach to that. Thank you.
Sahra-Josephine.
Well, I find the idea of, I guess, democratizing also the use of NLP, because I think out of the 4,000 languages, only 1,200 of them are in writing, and then we know even Google underserves such a small portion. So I find that quite exciting. Can you talk to me more about the structuring? So it seems like you're not going to do you're not fact-checking like Wikipedia, you're actually looking at the DNA construction of a fake sentence. Talk to us about that.
Okay, so our first approach was to create classifier model. We used local fact-checking media and grab the data from them and create the classified model which can understand how new article looks like real, already labeled news, or the fake one. And it ended up like you can easily fool this mechanism because you can structure fake news really well. So there is two different approaches we try to implement. One of them is like use this tool as a first checkup, but then have a human agent to verify the result and thus create a scoreboard of reputation where you know that, okay, same kind of articles has been, like it goes to the search engine and sees the same kind of articles who agree or disagree, and that's the important point, who agree with this sentence, for example, or idea, has been noticed to have a bad reputation. So that's one of the indicators. So we are using three components, like AI model, which can kind of like give you the intuition behind the article, then search engines and NLP tools to statistically analyze the article and idea behind the article, and third, for the final word, last word, the human agent.
Thank you, Timur. That's
so
filling
much.
a real need in our society and democracy.
Thank you for your
promise
time.
you that. Thank you.
Bye.
Now, last but not least, we have Nino Macharashvili, and she is a fellow journalist. So I always appreciate a fellow journalist from Quack Hunter, a game that helps you hunt down fake news.
Thank you. In 2017, just 1 year after the Georgia-EU Association Agreement entered into force, one of the pro-Russian Facebook pages posted a claim that since 2009, Albania's economy has shrunk because of signing the association agreement with the EU. Raise your hand if you think this is real. Actually, a Georgian fact-checking organization dived deep into the subject and concluded in a 700-word article that this claim is a manipulation, so well done, guys, and the real reason behind the Albanian economic recess is attributed to the world economic crisis. Every time fake news like this spreads, the Georgians' willingness to become part of the EU declines. And while the fake news spreads fast and effectively, the counter-information, such as the above-mentioned comprehensive article, does not reach wide audience. With the gaming platform Quack Hunter, we will change this. Quack Hunter is inspired by the Nintendo game Duck Hunt from the late 80s. The player is challenged to catch the duck, read the statement, and decide whether it is true or fake. After the player closes a round of 30 questions successfully, they move to the next rounds, with the multiple ducks flying around the screen much faster. This way, we make sure that the player stays challenged, and they come back, and they do not get bored, and they come back to the games regularly. The game will help fact-checking organizations, the NGOs, and think tanks to distribute complex information to their audiences in a fun and engaging way. With the easy-to-use interface, they will create their own editions of the game, where each statement is supported by a fact-checking article of a credible source. The game will also be useful for the media outlets for their special projects. Through the gaming platform, we offer these organizations not only the gaming technology, but also insights from the players' analytics, a space for shared learning, and access to much large audience. The game will also be white-labeled and offered to educational institutions to diversify their learning experiences. We need 30,000 USD for the next 6 months to update the game, to subsidize 10 customers, and attract 5,000 beta users to test and experiment with the platform. After 6 months, we start selling different packages, with the cheapest one being only 1,500 USD. We offer different levels of customization and expect 100,000 USD income in the first year. The team behind the game turned 4 years old today. It is our birthday. We are Forset, a creative agency on a mission to strengthen change makers using data, design, and technology. We are game developers, illustrators, designers, researchers, entrepreneurs, and communication specialists. Over the last 4 years, we have worked with 150 organizations and successfully implemented more than 300 projects. From our existing partners, we have identified 1/3 to become customers of the Quack Hunter gaming platform. You are invited to play the early version of the game, catch the duck, and hunt down the fake news. Thank you.
Thank you, Nino, and happy birthday. If we could
Thank
convince
you.
1/3 of Politico's readers to become paying subscribers, I wouldn't be hosting this summit. I'd be doing something else. Jonas, what's your question and feedback?
No, I think that this is great, but I want to challenge you a little bit, which challenges myself as well, because in the foundation we actually also made a game in a similar way on disinformation, and that people can go through, where it's not duck hunt, but where you're a political candidate that goes sort of through why you didn't win an election and some of the things that happened during that. My question would just be, we often think this is a way to engage sort of younger people. So I wanted to hear your thoughts on that. Where do you think that really works? So if I look at my own 2 teenage sons that I tried out some of the things, they're not really. Even though it's a game that, then it's still not fun. So do we get sort of, or what is actually really our idea behind that it has to be a game?
To be honest, when we came up with this concept, we did not have teenagers as our main target audience. We were actually targeting to 30-year-olds who remember the fun that they had playing the Nintendo games. So we just wanted to trigger this emotion in them and drag them into the world of misinformation. So just like package the fake news in this way. However, I believe that gamification works for all age groups. The question we should be asking is, how can we make gamification work for educational content? And this is what we are going to be doing the next 6 months, to be observing and learning from our beta users to make sure that we get all the pieces together right in order to attract the users, make them come back to the game, and also inspire them to share information about the game to their peers and become the constantly returning users to the platform. So yes, people love entertainment and gamification works. We just need to find the exact components and ingredients how to make it work for social projects such as this one.
Alexander, the honor of the final question goes to you.
I think, I like having games as part of educating a younger group. But games, it's easy to make a game, it's hard to make a fun game. What is the team's background for making, working with games and making sure that this is actually going to be fun and that, having some kind of scoring and motivation for keep continuing doing this and not just doing it once and then forgetting about it, and having people coming back and do this as a thing to do?
We have made around 10, 15 educational games, which are one-off games where a player finishes the game and they are never going to come back. So we have learned how not to do the game like that. So we have learned that we need to put in some components which will keep them coming back. And through the Quack Hunter game, we are actually taking the components from the Nintendo games, right? So the mechanics of catching the duck, shooting, like these are kind of borrowed. And we have been brainstorming about different models of like having the leaderboards, having like friends, even like shooting together, like having pairs competing with each other, maybe even some hidden prizes here and there for like some thematic editions. So these are the components that we want actually to experiment with and see which ones work best for our audiences. Maybe some of them work better in certain countries, in a certain age group. We just need to experiment, try and learn, and then I believe we will get it right.
Thank you, Nino. And congratulations to
Thank
you,
you.
as to all of the fellows. That brings us to the end of this session. I want to say thank you to our expert panelists. You really added value to that discussion. And most importantly, when you have a startup or a scale up and you are trying to grow that business, you need partners and sometimes you need money. So if you want to contact any of the 6 fellows, you're now able to do that in the Copenhagen Democracy Summit Trifork platform. And you can just be in touch or you can make whatever offer it is you want to make to those fellows.